Howie Roseman does not only go after the names that are on everybody's radar, my friend. While the spotlight points to first and second round picks, to million-dollar free agents, and to the moves that dominate the headlines, there is another kind of work happening in silence, the work of finding players that nobody saw coming. And over the last few days, the Eagles signed a linebacker who spent his entire college football career at an FCS university, far from any national attention, but who showed up at the rookie minicamp and impressed the coaching staff enough that a contract followed immediately. But the story gets even more interesting when you find out that this player and one of the Eagles' most recent draft picks were teammates, and that both of them arrived at the same place by the same road. I am going to tell you everything about this linebacker, where he came from, what he showed on the field, and what the connection between two players from a school in Idaho reveals about how Howie Roseman builds rosters in a way that no other general manager in the NFL does quite the same. But first, if you are a true Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now, because the most interesting stories out of Philadelphia often arrive without any warning. Let's get into it. Reporter Aaron Wilson was the one who broke the news on his official X account. The Eagles have signed Isaiah King. The signing was confirmed this Monday, right after the rookie minicamp, which means King spent the weekend at the Jefferson Health Training Complex. The Eagles' coaches had the chance to evaluate him on the field, and what they saw was enough to offer a contract on the spot. King stands 6 feet 3 inches tall and weighs 215 pounds. He is an undrafted free agent linebacker out of the University of Idaho, an FCS school, the level immediately below the top division of American college football. And before you think that means he is a player without real chances, let me walk you through his journey because it says everything about the type of athlete Roseman likes to bring to training camp. King is a native of San Diego, California. When he arrived at the University of Idaho to play for the Vandals, he was a defensive back, a coverage player positioned in the second or third line of the defense. But the Idaho coaching staff saw something different in him. In his second season with the program, he was moved to linebacker, and it was that position change that opened the door to everything that came after. In 2024, with the transition already fully established, King finished the season with 48 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 1 sack. Those are solid numbers for a linebacker in an FCS division, but what truly impressed was what happened in 2025. In his final year at Idaho, King had a season he will likely carry with him for the rest of his life: 79 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. He was named All-Big Sky Conference, the most competitive conference in the FCS division, and his name started appearing on lists of undrafted free agents who could surprise at the professional level. And when Idaho head coach Thomas Ford was asked about King's signing with the Eagles, the response he gave is worth every word. Ford said he could not be more excited for the player, that King embodies everything it means to be a Vandal, that watching his development has been so rewarding, that he played a ton on special teams when Ford was the coordinator, and that he had a phenomenal senior season. And then came the phrase that summarizes everything. Everyone in the building knew he was a Sunday guy. A Sunday guy. That is the expression coaches use when they know an athlete has what it takes to reach the NFL. It is not about the numbers, not about the rankings, not about which college he attended. It is about the way he works, the way he thinks, the way he competes. And when the very coach who trained him uses that expression, the Eagles listen. Now, what exactly do the Philadelphia coaches see in King? The report raises a very interesting possibility. At 6 feet 3 inches and only 215 pounds, King may not have the ideal weight to play as a linebacker in the NFL long term. He sits right on the boundary between linebacker and safety, and the experience he had as a defensive back during his first years in college may be exactly what the Eagles decide to explore. The versatility to play multiple positions on defense and on special teams units is a real asset on a 53-man roster. And speaking of special teams, that may be the most direct path for King to earn a spot on the final roster. The Eagles, like any team competing at the highest level, need players who stand out on coverage units, return units, and punt teams. King built part of his reputation at Idaho doing exactly that. Ford was explicit about it. The young man played a lot on special teams when the head coach was still the coordinator. That is a direct resume line for a spot on the reigning Super Bowl champions roster. But King's story connects to something even bigger at this point in the Eagles' calendar. And this is where the narrative gets truly interesting. Keyshawn James Newby. That is the name you need to know right now, if you do not already. The Eagles used their final pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the 252nd overall in the 7th round, to select an edge rusher out of the University of New Mexico. But before New Mexico, James Newby was at Idaho. And before Idaho, he was at Montana Tech, an NAIA school. It is a journey through college football that very few people can complete without giving up somewhere along the way. In 2023 and 2024, Isaiah King and Keyshawn James Newby were teammates on the Idaho Vandals. The two trained together, played together, and developed together. And now, by the decision of Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office, the two are together again. This time at the Jefferson Health Training Complex, competing to earn a spot on the roster of the Super Bowl champion team. That is not a coincidence. It is a sign that the Eagles scouts monitored that Idaho program with real and sustained attention. James Newby stands 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighs 240 pounds. In the 2024 season at Idaho, he had 64 tackles, 10 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles in 13 games, and was named an FCS All-American. He then transferred to New Mexico, where he played in the FBS division in 2025 and posted 9 sacks and 15 tackles for loss in 13 games, earning all Mountain West Conference honors. NFL draft analyst Lance Zierlein did a detailed evaluation of James Newby before the draft and summarized his profile well. A player who went from Montana Tech to Idaho to New Mexico and stayed productive at every single stop. Someone who plays bigger than his measurements suggest. Who has a high motor and disruptive ability that make him a viable edge rusher in rotational packages. Zierlein also noted that James Newby has a dangerous stab move that is still being developed, and that with NFL-level coaching, that move has the potential to become a real weapon. On the Eagles' current roster, James Newby will compete for a spot in an edge rusher group that includes Jonathan Greenard, Nolan Smith Jr., Jalix Hunt, and Arnold Ebiketie. It is a competitive group, and the path to the starting roster is not a straight line. But just like King, James Newby has the right characteristics to make an impact on special teams while developing his game on the defensive line. What does this story tell us about the Eagles as an organization? That the reach of Howie Roseman's scouting department goes far beyond the major universities and the power conferences. That there is an evaluation process that identifies talent in smaller divisions, monitors development over multiple years, and acts when the right moment arrives. Idaho is not Alabama. New Mexico is not Ohio State. But the Eagles identified 2 players in that program who deserve a chance on a championship roster. And that is a mindset that separates the organizations that win repeatedly from those that are always waiting for the obvious names. King and James Newby came from the same place. They took different paths. And they arrived at the same destination, the Jefferson Health Training Complex, with the chance to earn a spot on the best team in the NFC. Do you think undrafted free agents like Isaiah King have a real shot at making the Eagles' final 53? And does the connection between King and James Newby at Idaho signal that Roseman is doing scouting work that is genuinely different from the rest of the league? Leave your take in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later with the latest Eagles news. Fly, Eagles, fly.